Well, are we live? Are we live? What's up? What's up, world? Uh, Gosh darn, a little last minute thing here. Trying to pick up my son from snowboarding, and oh, what do you know? We got a foot of snow here today, so things are running a little bit behind. But it looks like no one else showed up today, so we're gonna make this a short and sweet Valentine's Day edition of the Restoration Roundtable. Hold on 1 second. What up, Restoration Rebels and the rest of the interwebs? This is Andy McCabe. This is the Restoration Roundtable for February 14th, 2024. And today, I'm going to have ChatGPT tell us what the Rebel agreements are. Hold on 1 second. There we go. All right. Hi. Rebel replies. What are the Rebel agreements? There are a set of principles outlined to guide contractors in their interactions with insurance carriers and adjusters, emphasizing the protection of the value of their services, transparency, community, unity, and adherence to personal and professional values. Here we go. Look at this. It knows. Number one, I will protect the value of my services. This agreement emphasizes the importance of not offering free services, as it can devalue similar services across the industry. It encourages contractors to uphold the value of their work and expertise. Now, ChatGPT is going a little off script here, huh? That's all right. Agreement number two, I will practice incredible transparency. Agreement number three, I do not believe in competition. And agreement number four, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. These agreements form the core of a contractor's ethical and operational framework, encouraging practices that are fair, transparent, and respectful of all parties involved, including clients, insurance carriers, and industry peers. Well, what do you know? That was something special. Got children running in and out of my room here. So I wrote, I'm going to keep this Chat GPT centric today. I wrote a letter with Chat's help. It was an interesting use case, I believe, for this new thing we call AI. And I actually pasted, I copied and pasted a redacted version of that letter into the Restoration Rebel page for your copy and pasting pleasure. Hey, before we get too far down the road, if you're on YouTube, watch it on YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit that like, help me out. If you're anywhere else, I don't know if there's a button you can push to say, but if you can, do it. Otherwise, let me know in the chat. You can, wherever you're watching this from, you put a comment in. I'm going to see it here. And if you got a question today, guess what? There's no one else here. So ask a question, put it in the comment section. I'll see it. I'll bring it up here-ish over. And then we'll talk about it. So while I'm waiting for all those great questions to come in, let's talk Chat GPT again. If you didn't know, let me come back here, share this. If you weren't aware yet, I've created what's called a GPT, and it is lives in ChatGPT, but it's called Rebel Replies. I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit for you here. Edit this GPT for you. Come down in here. and you can see all the documents that I've fed this machine. This including the pricing statements from the RIA, the Rebel agreements, of course. Uh, this was a great article. The $30,000 turns into $300,000 things. Ed Cross wins against Allstate. White paper on over. Anyway, I fed it all this. I gave it all kinds of guidance over here, and then I was able to. Let's just hit update just for fun, just for funsies. So I'll tell you what I did earlier today after this gets done updating. There we go. Okay, let's go back. Scott Harvey, get in the room. Mr. Harvey, how the heck are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. All right, where was I? I'll get back to you, Scotty. Hold on one second. Oh, come on, get back. There we go. Okay, so today I was in Rebel Replies. Come on, there we go. And I had an email string. It was 7 or 8 emails between a homeowner and an adjuster, and it was an Amica adjuster. And there, I said, I just fed it. I copied the entire string, all 10 or so emails, put it into this GPT right here, and I said, please analyze this email thread and give recommendations to the homeowner. I named her. As to what else should she ask or demand of Amica. And lo and behold, this machine came back with some really nice, a really awesome letter. Here's the letter here. I don't want to pause too long on names, but it's like 9 or 10 points, ending with, I'd like to speak with a superior. Given the complexities and the current standstill of my claim, I'm requesting to speak with a superior or someone with the authority and ability to settle the claim and issue payment without further delay. I mean, if that's not a F you adjuster, you don't know what you're doing statement without saying F you, I don't know what is. I was pretty proud of the GPT to come up with that sort of language. So that's for the rebels. I encourage you to go in here and play with this if you have a paid subscription of ChatGPT. I'm not getting any money from this, obviously. There's no way to pay me for this, but the more of us that use it, the better it's going to get at answering these questions. So feed in the emails, ask it what be specific of, hey, I want to reply to this adjuster. How should I reply? Here's the adjuster's email. Anyway, that's how it's working. Let's catch up with Wolf Restoration. Where are you guys out of?
Effingham, St. Louis area.
St. Louis.
Yeah, I've been on a couple times.
Yeah. You guys survived the freeze all right?
We did. Got hit harder in St. Louis than we did in Southern Illinois. But obviously being in this St. Louis metro area, it was definitely a good time, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, looks like we're about to have round 2, at least here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
We got buried today with snow.
Did you?
It was, and it's still coming down. So they've given the warnings, don't travel. Okay.
Yeah.
Usually when the state says don't travel, you should listen.
Yeah.
Because it
wasn't as big as an event as probably one was expecting, but it was still pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean it's a good bump, especially coming off of last year. Last year was so slow. So slow. All right, let's answer a question here, shall we? I've been having lots of troubles with State Farm lately for mitigation. Join the club. Once we are finished, they send a response 30 days later stating they're only paying for their comparative estimate. Okay. This is pretty damn common. Scotty, you want to take a swing at this before I do?
It is very common, and they're doing that. They're using that 30-day. I don't know. Can you still hear me? I think
I can. Yep, I got you.
Yeah, I just switched over to my Okay. Let me close out of that. So on the mitigation side, I work more on the construction side, but basically what's happening even in our area is everything's going to these third party reviewers, and it's just it's the delay process, and same thing that this guy's stating, that they're basically getting a comparative. So um, all I would recommend though is that if most of these companies that are using a work off on mitigation have a schedule of fees attached to the work off, and then invoice your client for those. And as long
Yep.
as they send that work off or that contract with your schedule of fees or rate sheets, whatever people call them, you can kind of just throw all these people that are doing these third party reviewers out the window.
Yeah, I had a ward law issue come up on one of my clients' claims today,
Yeah.
and the ward law lady um, called his office and was and he didn't take the phone call, but he said she was so rude, and she said she was just going to close the claim because we weren't being responsive, and he was afraid that the client was going to get upset, the adjuster was going to get upset, but I was like, that's the best solution, because Wardlaw is going to go back to the carrier and say, we couldn't do anything with this. They wouldn't communicate with us. Instead of you trying to negotiate with this third party, negotiating against yourself essentially, and them beating you up, and then they submit their payment recommendation. Well, this lady is going to close a claim without submitting a payment recommendation to the carrier. That's a win.
Yeah.
My job, I want to piss Wardlaw off as much as possible. I want them to do that every single time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Wardlaw, all these other third parties, Code Blue, uh, Sedgwick, they don't have, first off, they don't have claim settlement authority, right? So why would you negotiate a claim with someone who doesn't have claim settlement authority?
That's no different than dealing with a consultant.
Exactly.
The
Secondly,
consultant,
they have no contractual
yeah,
right authority, right? You didn't hire them, they didn't hire you. You don't have an agreement in place. You are under no obligation to speak with them. And so that's where my so let's go back to Justin's question here. What State Farm is doing is raising a false flag of that we only have to pay off of our comparative. Well, there's nowhere in the policy that says that. There's nowhere in the state law that says that. So what they're trying to do is just push you off your number. So
mhm,
back to what Scotty said, make sure your contract is an actual contract, right? If you don't have a schedule of fees tied to your contract, it's not a contract. It's just the homeowner giving you a permission to be there, but it's not a contract. Um, and then make sure your billing adheres to what your contract said, right? If you said we're going to bill according to these rates, you better bill according to those rates. Uh, a lot too many people have these work authorizations that are just open ended, no dollar amount, i.e., not a valid contract, and no schedule of fees. So there's no way for the insured to make an actual informed buying decision at that point. And then those guys that are running those contracts, State Farm knows it. State Farm knows they don't have a leg to stand on, and State
yeah,
Farm that's their push. Is they will push as much of these 50 cents on the dollar payments out, forcing these guys to get legal or get serious. And once it goes legal, the lawyers just eat them alive because they don't have a valid contract in place.
yeah. And having those scheduled fees on your contract, work off, whatever you want when you're giving it to the client, I mean, it's right there. It's showing how upfront, how honest you're being, basically
It's so
saying,
easy.
this is how much we're charging. We're charging you our rates. We're charging. I mean, it's really easy. Just so many people fail to, they feel like, well, I don't want to share my numbers. It's like, well, at the end, when it's all
You're
done,
gonna have to share it anyway.
yeah, yeah, they're going to get a estimate invoice report or whatever that's going to say this is what a DQ costs, this is what it costs to tear out hardwood, whatever that might be. So we do it on the construction side too. Every time write an estimate and send it over to the client and the adjuster. We'll go ahead and get a contract signed with the schedule of fees based off of that estimate that we're writing.
Yeah.
So sometimes, but just depending on the situation, sometimes or I would say more times than not, it benefits in there. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, what are we? We're contractors. What do contractors do? They write contracts.
Yeah.
They're agreements, set dollar amounts for a set scope of work.
So
And
I had, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
To go back to what we were talking about, I had a situation the other day where an adjuster, we were charging for a truck to basically move contents from a house to another
Sure.
house, right? I'm on the recon side, general manager, he's overseeing it. Well, this adjuster, he's a local adjuster, everybody knows it. He tries to tell him, well, I'm not going to pay you for moving blankets and I'm not going to pay you for the pickup truck. And my general manager, he calls me and he's like, hey, what should have I said to this guy? Because I'm pretty pissed off at this guy about this. And he said his reasoning for not paying for that is, he said, well, it's the cost of doing business. And so I said, well, I go, you can go one or two ways. I said, next time, to spite the guy, I said, get a rental truck, take a picture of it, and add it to your bill. I said, the second thing you should say to anybody who tells you, who's trying to negotiate with you and tries to tell you that's the cost of doing business, I simply told him that, hey, listen, I didn't know that you had a relationship with our upper level management and you knew what the cost of our business was. And that really shuts people up really quick, because you can kind of say it sarcastic. I mean, in a way, I mean, for me, I'm being sarcastic, but it's
Sure.
true. It's true. Nobody can tell you what your costs are unless they're in your business.
And newsflash, everything you do is a cost. The labor is a cost. The equipment, maintaining the equipment that goes on a job site is a cost. So if it wasn't a verified job cost, it wouldn't be on the bill, but it is. So, cost of doing business. Yeah, everything costs money. That's what it means to run a business. You have costs, and you have pricing that hopefully covers those costs and then some. It's simple. Let's ask. That's a good chance to use ChatGPT. Let's ask. Let's ask the Rebel. Let's go back in here. Let's do a fresh one. What should I say to an adjuster who says my let's just use your moving van and blankets are a cost of doing business? Let's see what it says with that. It's going to chew on it for a second. Therefore, not reimbursable. It's important to be both firm and well-informed in your reply. Here's a suggested approach. Oh, I love it. I can't wait. Here we go. Okay, wait for it to stop scrolling here. All right. Thank you for your recent communication regarding the claim. I understand your position that the moving van and blankets are considered a cost of doing business. However, I would like to offer some clarification that supports the inclusion of these costs in the claim reimbursement. First, as outlined in the Restoration Industry Association position papers, it is recognized that restoration projects often require specific tools, equipment, materials that are essential for successful completion of a project. These items, while perhaps general to our operations, are directly utilized for the execution of the specific job. Oh, I mean, this is, I love it. I think you guys can, that is kind of small over
here. It goes second, it goes moreover. I mean, it basically gives you three things. Oh, and there's the Rebel agreements. Do you see that in the third paragraph?
Get out of here. What?
You see it?
Oh. All job-specific expenses are documented and accounted for in our billing per the Rebel agreements. See, there's something about if you are always consistent, And that's what I love. That's really where the Rebel agreements came from, is my desire for us all to have a standard, like a starting point, right? If we're always transparent, if we're always honest, and if we're always true to ourselves, we can continually go back to, why do you do that? Well, because I'm honest and I'm transparent and I'm showing you this. And it's just such a powerful thing. I've been saying these agreements for, I don't know, close to 10 years at this point. But now it's a mantra. It's an ethos where, we can say, because we are transparent in our billing, we do account for all these things. And just because you say it's a cost of doing business doesn't mean it's not a valid job cost and not a reimbursable expense. Um, this is, yeah, I really like what Chat's doing.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of um, on a quick check. We spend a lot of time defending things, defending estimates and invoices. And so I've spent a lot of time in the last month or so in ChatGPT just doing these responses. And what's amazing to me is this whole process used to be just mind bending. Scotty, I don't know how much time you spend responding to the nonsense, but it is mind numbing sometimes. Where now it's less of a chore for me. I take the email, I put it in, I say, hey, this is, I want to respond in this way. It spits it out, and it takes an hour of a process. What used to take me an hour is a 15-minute process.
Yeah.
And it's just we're just burying them. Here's what a lot of people don't understand. Every written communication that the carrier receives, they are obligated to issue a written response to.
Within
So
30
just
days. Within
within,
30 days.
well, it's state to state, 30 days, 60 days, some states, 15 days, some states. But there's a requirement that they respond. And bonus points if that initial email or a list of questions or that rebuttal comes from the insured. That's what it really I didn't understand. I didn't really realize how powerful that was. Um, but we are nothing to the carrier, right? There's no contract between us, but there is a contract between the insured and the insurance carrier. And if we can coach our clients, and that's what we preach here at the Rebels too, we coach our clients, we empower our clients. But now if we can put these tools in their hands, and then the adjuster is getting some just straight up daggers from the
Oh,
insured, um, that's way more powerful coming from the insured than it is from us.
yeah.
What's this question? So you push in quick check. What's the difference between that and the Encircle program you also endorse? Well, that is actually a really good question. So Encircle is a documentation platform. What do you guys use in the field, Scotty, for documentation?
I actually use a program out of Australia called Service M8.
Okay.
It actually works great. It's a cloud-based platform. We keep diary notes, documents, photos. We can text out of it. We can email out of it.
Mm,
Basically, the main reason I use that is because if a job went to court, or a client took us to court for whatever reason, I can literally tell the story by the job diary that this Service M8 program puts out.
okay. So is it a job? What about job like hygrometrics, uh, existing condition photos, that type of stuff?
Yep,
You do all that
yep,
in that?
yep. We do that. You can upload Matterports, docu-sketches. You can upload anything to it.
Okay.
But then all of our daily notes of, hey, I had conversation, but you can also text within it and then they can download the app to where they can text within that app.
Uh,
It's not
ah,
a it's not a program meant for the restoration program, but I
right.
love the functions that it has uh, to benefit our reconstruction department. That's why I've
Okay.
been using it for about 9 years now.
Nice. Nice. All right. We got an Adam. Adam, where are you from?
Chicago, green water and fire.
All right. What's up, buddy?
Yes, indeed.
All right. We're going to answer this question and we're going to get, I want to catch up with you, man. I want to see how you've been. Okay.
Sure.
So Quick Check versus Encircle. Encircle field documentation. And so it's an app you put on your phones. It's tied into Xactimate with the sketches. It has, you can do your hygrometrics and your moisture maps. It's a job management system. Quick Check is a claim management service. All right. So we interact with your data. And if your data is in Encircle, we interact with your Encircle. You share claims with us. But our goal at Quick Check is to remove the friction from the claim process and get you paid faster. And it starts with the mitigation on the front end. So if you're using Encircle, you get dispatched out, you share that claim, the Encircle's claim with us, our offices gets it, and then we start tracking the data. Before you go back to the job site on day 2, you get a Quick Check report out of us, which is essentially a living audit of that mitigation as it's happening. And we're giving you recommendations. Hey, I don't think you sized your drying chamber properly. Hey, I think we saw that you extracted, but you didn't prove it. Well, we don't have any pictures of the extraction or this or that. We don't have pictures of that. Anyway, your documentation, blah, 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 blah. We hopefully, and so far we're adding our average right now on how many claims have we handled since we opened? Let's say 1,500 claims we've handled in the last 3 months. We're adding at least 25% to what guys are used to billing out on their mitigations using Xactimate. Lost Adam. So, but that's just the beginning. That's the mitigation. And then as we all know, once you submit that invoice, that's when the real fight begins. And that's where Quick Check just stands beside you. And as those emails and objections are coming through, we're coaching you every step of the way. I'm using ChatGPT. We're using all the resources at our disposal to fight back on, just what we're talking about here is it's really, the industry has turned into this big game of how little can we pay them and make them go away. And that game doesn't work for us. So Quick Check understands that. So we're full stack claim settlement service. We're not a collections agency. We don't speak on your behalf, but we coach you every step of the way. So I hope that answers the question. That's what Quick Check is. Encircle is just a data collection job management tool that we use. Didn't mean to turn it into a sales pitch for Quick Check, but
I think you did an excellent job of explaining it.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot of people don't understand. So what I started in the industry in 2001 as a water damage tech. But when I started my claims delegates estimating service in 2012, I was just concentrating just on the Xactimate portion. But the older I got and the more experience I had and the way the industry has changed, just writing a good Xactimate sheet is not enough anymore. You need to be able to defend it. And if that sheet is not based on verifiable facts, you're at risk of not getting paid in full for your invoice. So, historically, I've only just concentrated on that Xactimate portion, but really to make it viable and make it successful, you have to go full stack. You have to handle the claim or help with the claim, soup to nuts. Otherwise, the value is just not there. How many estimates you write in a year, Mr. Scotty?
Recon side, we actually do, I would probably say about 120, but we average about $80,000 per job.
Per job.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, we do a lot of
not ginormous, but not small in any means.
Yeah. So we're about 120. Our mitigation side, though, holy crap, I wouldn't even know. They're on, who knows how many, different programs and things like that. But they, that's one thing. So let me ask you this, Andy. So when you're doing your your quick check, is your quick check only for mitigation, or do you do the services for recon? And the reason I ask that,
Similar services for recon,
okay,
except for obviously that starting when you start portion of it isn't there. So I think we provide more value, obviously, if we're touching the MIT and going through the recon. But no, we have several clients that are just, we get notification, hey, we got a recon to do, and we get their documentation package, and we go from there. But then that's where the bigger fights are, really, is on those recon estimates that are coming in, double and triple what the insurance company wrote in the first place.
yeah. Yeah, the reason I was asking is because, like when we have events like freeze event, whatever it might
Yep.
be, part of the biggest struggle we have is MIT probably doesn't do as well as what they could on their estimates.
Yep.
They might duplicate what they're removing. They might not remove what they're removing. And then our recon team comes in and writes their estimate, and then adjusters going, these two things don't even line up. Your mid estimate is one thing, your recon says they another thing. It typically happens, like I said, whenever you're balls to the walls, not double checking. But we have the ability, because not every water mitigation job do we go chase that recon job. So on the recon side, we have the ability to, we use actionable insights as well, as another tool.
Nice.
Actionable insights too, by the way, a lot of the mitigation people want to use it, but it's not gonna fix your scope for you.
No,
your scope still got to be right. It's just
it's not going to pull that tax strip for you, right?
Yeah,
it's not going to get the
exactly.
extractor out of the van for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, let's put that. Hey, Adam's having some issues connecting there.
He is. He's going back and forth.
Getinsights.org. There we go. Do yourself a favor.
Yep.
Everyone, so you're using the actionable profile on your side?
Yes, on the recon side, yes.
Man,
and then I started to use it. I did a couple mitigation jobs for them just to do a comparison for them. And it was obvious that, hey, but it's only going to pick on the mitigation side. It doesn't pick up near as much on a $15,000 MIT job than it's going to pick up on a $300,000 fire or $300,000 water loss. It's not.
No, not even close. But it's still percentages. It's still just by the sake of having it, you're going to pick up 10 points.
Yeah, and and the cost of it. The cost is done with one job easily.
It's negligible.
Yeah.
So I always say, if someone can't afford. If someone can't afford that, they can't afford me. So,
yeah. So let me ask you this: what would you say to companies out there? Because I know there's more companies than just mine out there.
Sure.
That are doing a large volume of jobs, and they get to that point to where they hit that time crunch of, hey, they're trying to invoice, out everything, but then things aren't matching up with what the recon estimates are, because the recon estimates are pretty darn accurate, because we have to put back the materials. So we got to know, we got to be precise on our insulation, our drywall, framing, whatever it might be.
Sure.
On the mitigation side, if they finger F something up, then it is what it is. And it usually just gets passed through, or, whatever that is. But I've been looking ways to help our mitigation team of, hey, how can you guys get more accurate on your actual scope of works?
Yeah, it comes down to scoping. And I've got the 24-hour text system that I push on everybody. That's all paper-based. And what we've started to do on Quick Check is put those the scope templates into the rooms.
Yeah.
So the technicians can do it that way. InCircle has their hydro, which has some steps to it. But it's about systemizing the collection of the data, no matter if it's electronic on an app or on paper. Your guys need to be doing that the same every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, honestly, that's where the 24-hour tech came from. Is I needed to know on these 20 steps, that you're going to go through these 20 steps, and I can visually see if you skip some steps because your name's not there or something else. But it's, it's the simple disciplines. I had a rule when I was at Service Master, both the Service Masters I was at, when I was the mitigation manager. My rule was no paperwork gets done at the shop. Well, why is that? Because that allows you to be lazy and not do the paperwork on the job. And if you don't do the paperwork on the job, by the time you get back to the shop, you've forgotten something. By the time you sit down the next day to write down what you did, you've forgotten 50% of what you did.
Yeah, I agree.
So documentation has to happen in the field, has to happen in real time. And that's really, I don't care how you do it, whether it's a paper or an app or a software platform from Australia. But the system has to be there for the technician, and the system has to be easy to use. Right? There is a ton of things, Dash, Mica, that are a pain in the ass for the technicians to use in the field. And if something's hard to use in the field, the technician's not going to use it. So you gotta simplify. Joe Spears, man, you jumped off. You scared me last week. You jumped off early, and then you went dark. So I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, everything was fine.
Good.
I was a little sick. That's all.
Yeah, I'm sick in the head, but that's just me. Well,
I'd have been here. Yeah, I'm feeling better. I would have been here sooner, but after dinner, I literally laid down, and I'm old and getting gray more and more, and had to take me an old person nap. And I woke up and I was like, "Oh, I forgot we have a round table."
Hey, you're supposed to be laying down with your wife because it's Valentine's Day. Come on.
Oh, I'm lucky that she even said hi to me today. What are you talking about?
Well, I had to promise my wife a dinner later on this week because I'm having this on Valentine's Day. So, but we're still married. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of stuff.
We don't celebrate it, so that's.
Well,
good.
we try not to, but sometimes it is a Hallmark holiday. It's like
that's what my wife calls it, a Hallmark. That's all it is to her.
There's literally only two kinds of people out there: people that love Valentine's Day, or people that despise it. Nobody's like, it's okay, I don't mind it. Like I love today, or this is the worst holiday ever.
Well, if it was a real holiday, we wouldn't have to work, right? We'd get it off, or at least the banks and postal workers would get it off.
Like Monday.
Yeah. Like this coming Monday. Yeah, that's a legit holiday. All right. We can celebrate that. All right, we're going to try to get Adam in one more time. One more time. Just the one time. All right. So I think I answer your question, right? Quick check versus encircle. So yeah, I appreciate you putting that softball up there so I could hit it out of the park. Joe, Adam, Scotty, I'm out. I'm out of stuff. I blew through everything I wanted to talk about.
Well,
and there's no other questions. Come on, people. Ask one more question. Just one more question. Come on, people.
Yeah, not getting a lot.
Oh, it's okay. It happens.
I will say, it seems like we need to figure out, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like we've had somewhat good engagement lately with people joining, but the engagement as far as commenting and questioning, I just feel like has been really lackluster lately. And I don't know if people are busy or what exactly, but.
Ooh, that's a good question. So this question: can someone work at a restoration shop and also be a public adjuster?
As long as you're
in the state of Illinois, you can.
Oregon, you can. Oregon, you can be a GC and a public adjuster. But working at a restoration shop doesn't necessarily mean you're a GC either. So.
Well, and also like just because you hold your public adjuster license doesn't mean the same thing as you are actively the public adjuster on this file. I can
True.
you have most states you have to choose one or the other. Either you can be the public adjuster or you can be the restoration company general
Per
contractor.
file. Yep. Otherwise, there's too much conflict of interest. But yeah, I've got. Yeah, your phone is acting up, Adam. So I've got an associate out of Portland who feeds himself work. So he's a PA. He chases. He gets it. He signs it. He estimates it, and then at the end of the day, his general contractor does the work. And by the way, he's got a whole slew of Airbnb rentals that he moves people and takes their ALE money. So this guy's just capturing all kinds of dollars from the claim process. He's getting his PA fee, he's getting the GC doing the work, and he's getting the ALE money. He's got something figured out there. So I'd say there's no rule against that.
Yeah.
Oh, now we got the question. See, you guys just need to be woken up out there. Here we go.
I wasn't here. They were waiting for me to say something.
This is actually true. This is actually true. Is it appropriate to include a statement in the water mitigation report that summarizes a distribution statement that prevents carriers from sending out report to?
They won't care about it. There's
don't
nothing
give a
that
shit.
they won't. I mean, it's just like back in the day when we used to get a direct pay form that says, "Hey, you can write the check to the contractor themselves." They're still going to ignore it and just send it over to who they want. There's no legal precedent saying that you're not allowed to send it out.
Yeah, and let's be real. Let's be real here. You're not writing a manifesto here. It's a goddamn invoice. There's nothing proprietary about an invoice. All right, get over it. Okay, Mortar, I apologize if it was you doing that, but
I will say this here: it is in your best interest to comment. If you are going to put something on your cover sheet, put something to the effect of, well, regardless of Xactimate was used to help create this itemized invoice. However, the accuracy of the individual line items may not properly reflect the total value of this project.
Yeah,
however,
I like the wiggle words.
However,
Yep.
the total value of this project is accurately captured within this estimate. That way, I can remove a line item. I can change a line item, but that doesn't mean the price change. It just means that the individual breakdown of each line item might not be accurate, but the total price is what I want to be at.
And there's more nuance on the recon side, obviously, than the mitigation side. Mitigation side should, in my opinion, should be as close as possible a reflection of what the actual work you did. If your mitigation invoice, even if you use Xactimate, which I advocate for, we got another question regarding that here. I'll just tee it up here. Even if you use an Xactimate, which is not technically T&M, the Xactimate invoice for the mitigation should accurately reflect the work that you actually did. And if it doesn't, that's a problem. That's dishonest and not being transparent. So it's different on the repair side because Xactimate estimate is just your best guess, but there's nothing obligating you to actually perform that scope of work at the end of the day. It's more of a claim settlement document. Okay, here we go. Can you give your take on contractors who aren't using Xactimate? Good on you. Good, Scotty. I mean, did you always use Xactimate on the repair side?
No, I haven't always. No.
No. I don't think you need Xactimate. There's a subgroup of the rebels who really hates Xactimate. But it's just a tool. End of the day, it's just a tool. Use a tool to your advantage. Don't let the tool be used against you. And the more you know about how to use that tool, the more defenses you have against someone trying to use it against you.
If you want to know what it's like to be a contractor who doesn't use Xactimate and they use something else besides Xactimate to bill your estimate, use get a claim where the contractor or the carrier is using Symbility and see how much they fight you on your pricing through
Mm-hmm.
Xactimate. That's the
Mhm.
same exact argument and fight contractors who use QuickBooks, who use Albiware, who use time material. That's the same arguments and fighting that they have to do every time. The reason why people use
Yep.
Xactimate is because it minimizes the need to fight every time. But
Yep.
you know, if you want to have the experience, go up against Erie, go up against Liberty when they're doing Symbility, telling you that we only recognize Symbility pricing. That's what it's like not to have Xactimate.
Exactly. It's choose your sword, choose your poison. Either way, be prepared to defend what you're using. You should be able to defend with a straight face, hand raised, left hand on the Bible type thing, what you're doing, no matter what kind of software you're using to do that. Okay, I think Joshua, he reworded his question. Can I work at the restoration shop and be the PA, or is it necessary to disclose that? I think that goes to your what is your moral obligation? What is ethical as a PA? I know you if you are a PA, you took the test, you know
can't
the
be double dipping.
requirements.
You can't be like out here today on Tuesday. I'm out here working and I'm being paid by the contractor, but also the homeowner is going to pay me. Now, if you're like, hey, today I'm working as a PA, tomorrow I'm not being your PA right now, I'm going to be out here helping demo as a grunt. That's a fine line to walk.
Well, what I think, I'm going to read between the lines here a little bit. I think he's using his day job at the restoration company as a lead generation for his night job as a PA. I have nothing wrong with that. I think that's called hustling. Oh, guess what? Freaking hustle, baby. Hustle. So get it on. Make it happen. But be upfront about it, right? And I would argue if you ended up signing that job as a PA, you could no longer work on that job for your restoration company, that particular job. Okay. Okay. Adam says we just got boxed out on a big job by a PA under the same circumstances. All right, you got to get connection. Explain that what happened there. Okay, and this goes back to where as an intellectual property, there's no intellectual property in a freaking mitigation invoice. No way. Okay, what's this? No idea what that was. That's strange. Okay, Wesley, that's awesome. Brandon Beckett, we don't have good success billing. Okay.
The problem with billing is, like I said,
billing for what? What's it? Do you know what he means?
Oh. I'm assuming he's talking about like submitting files over outside of Xactimate and getting paid on it. The problem.
Outside of Xactimate. Okay.
But the problem is most people don't have a good platform, charge sheet or whatever that the contractor has provided the customers to know the billing to help justify their pricing on it. That's why people use Xactimate. And sadly, Andy, what me and you talked about last week, where I was telling you about how much the direct yields actually are and stuff.
Right.
I think people would be blown away if they start accurately looking at those direct yields and realizing just how lenient Xactimate is on their files. On hours and stuff.
I don't think, because some people don't understand how to use a program, they don't use it properly, and they're not realizing the actual margins that they could realize if they use the program properly, right? You said you use the word leeway. Yeah, I don't like that. It's a squishy word, but there's definitely margins there if you know how to use a program. Okay, so Joshua says he's not a PA yet, but he's considering it. Okay. All right, John. Good luck to you, man. Hey, just be straightforward with everyone involved, and I think you can't go wrong.
You could work at a restoration company all day long, and then, you need a PA? Hey, guys, I clocked out. I'm your PA. I'll work on all other jobs, just not this file here exactly anymore through the carrier or through the company.
Okay, here's what Brandon really meant. He said, okay, that was a continuation of what I said earlier. We do have success, and we don't use Xactimate. Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's possible. The only reason we use Xactimate, the main reason, is so we can speak the same language, apples to apples. It makes negotiating, if you know what you're doing, easier. If you don't know what you're doing, it really sets you up to get slayed. I've seen guys just get murdered because they don't approach that negotiation properly, and they got somebody, either the carrier or the homeowner, using that Xactimate as a laundry list, as a shopping list, and they think it's a la carte, so they're just doing, hacking stuff away. So anyway, it's all about how you use it.
I mean, there's tons of programs out there, guys. I mean, there's not that anybody I know of would ever choose to use Symbility, but I know tons of companies that use the Albiware platform for their billing. I know tons of companies that use time and material. I know plenty of companies that just still old school it. They have a tick sheet and a price list, and they say, sign this price list here if you have any questions. And then they just fill in 2 hours here, 1 hour is here, and down. And I mean, they can get paid. It's just a matter of how good you, I mean, at the end of the day, this is what I tell everybody. If you're going to negotiate if you're going to enter in an invoice to the carrier, you need to be able to provide any questions answered for that form without hesitation. If you're going into a conversation with the adjuster, you're like, well, I don't know, I'm going to have to get with the project manager and find this out. I don't really know what, they're going to eat you alive. If you're like, no, this is why we build what we build, and this is how we build it. And you come in there like a boss and you tell them and you shut them down, you'll have great success.
We only price rooms, not items. So, Brandon, let me know in the chat. Is this mitigation only, or repairs? Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And when you only price rooms, do you price
I used to know a guy. I used to know a lady that back in the day, she used to price out reconstruction. It was $125 a square foot. In the story, done.
Wow. That's a long time ago. Especially since new construction, well, in my town, it's over $800 a foot. $800 a foot to build a new house these days.
Yeah, I mean, on the remodeling stuff, she would go in there and she'd be like, it's equivalent of about $125 a square foot per floor, per wall, whatever that you're doing. That's how I figured all up. So the whole floor, 2 foot PF, and then she would just do 125, done.
Wow. So it sounds like Brandon doesn't use Xactimate on anything. And they're okay. And they're still doing insurance work. How much volume are you doing there, Brandon? All insurance work, no Xactimate. That's perfectly viable. If it's working, here's, I think you Brandon, you asked the question kind of leadingly, because if it wasn't working, you wouldn't be doing it. So good on you. I've got a friend who's going to start a mitigation company, and he's thinking very seriously about just doing square foot structural drawing. Joe, do you remember what number we landed on when last time we had that conversation? Was it like between $11 and $25 an hour, or a foot, or something?
I want to say it was between like $9 and $17 a square foot, depending on category of loss. I think it was, okay. Or maybe it was based on. I think we did it based on class. Like it was a class 1, 2, or 3.
That makes sense. That makes more sense. So we didn't break $20 a foot, huh?
I think if we did, it was very, very right at $20, $21.
Okay. But I think that's a viable thing to do structural drawing. And what I explained to him, and he really liked it, and that's why he's probably going to go that direction, is you don't have to commit to a number of days. You don't have to commit to amount of equipment. All you're committing to is, we will get this structure dry to prevent further damage. And that is it. And here's your number. And you can give that number on day one. And it'd be like, it's really easy math. How many square feet do you have that's affected? This is our number per square foot. Done. Write me a check. That would be the ultimate mitigation invoice that's impossible to argue with. like literally impossible. How would you argue with that? What would an adjuster do with that?
They'd write a comparative and say, well,
Yep.
you're off. Here's something that I found out recently that I found was very interesting. And I've been challenging myself to watch and see the responses on it. They don't tell you this, but most of the TPA outfits out there, the Ward Laws, the, I don't know, Code Blues, all those people that do the review stuff, they have an 8% allowance that they can allow the file through. So as long as if we do a side by side estimate, 100% the same line items, if I
There we
did
go.
if I did like a global factor of 8% on the file, they can approve it without it having to complain too much about to the adjuster. As soon as you hit like 8.2 or 8.3%, that's when the adjuster has to get involved.
What do you mean? Okay,
Like
factor.
we have a lot of, I don't care saying it. I have a lot of contractors that want their files, they'll factor up the labor and the material only, not the equipment charges by, 10, 12%. Some of them do 18%, some do 30. I mean, I've seen them all over. On average,
above the off the shelf price list.
Yep.
From Exactmate. Okay.
Yep. And I mean, right now for us at our RIB, I mean, we're averaging 10%. I mean, actually, here, I'll tell you the exact true number here, so I'm not bullshitting you here. Right now for us over at RIB, most of our contractors, I'm not going to lie, have a 10 or about an 18% factored price list. Just what it is.
Okay.
And I know that because I'm not a fan of doing a full 20% because it sounds too much like overhead and profit to me.
That's a pricing strategy, but it has nothing to do with the usual arguments of supervision is part of doing business. We don't pay O&P. You're just talking about factoring a price list by an amount that's
what they do, and
Ward Law can accept.
And well, a lot of them want to do like 18%, but we're averaging only 10.2%. Our right now for my analytics right now, average invoice amount is $12,483.59 per water loss, and we're average give back is only at 10.2%. So, and somebody told me that if I was to start watching that, because most of these companies they allow an 8% variance. So as long as they'll let you have 8% without a fight, but anything over 8% they'll fight you on.
Yeah, my problem is I am always 50% higher than what Ward Law wants to pay.
I mean,
because they come in at 50 cents on the dollar of whatever we write.
Right.
All right, Justin, that's another good question here. Having to split water and mold when you have an estimate and contract, why would any time doing this request after the loss be considered a cost of doing business? I would argue it's not a cost of doing business, it's a job cost. And I would also argue that if they're asking you to perform a task, you can charge them for it. And I would be right up front. Okay, Mr. Adjuster, you want me to split the water portion of this from the mold portion of this? I think it's going to take me 3 hours, and I'm $175 an hour.
Well, I'm okay. Me and you are going to disagree on this comment, Andy.
Okay.
I did not. It is, first off, it is not our job as contractors to worry about coverage. The price is the price. We agree, and I think we all can agree on that. However,
I agree.
Most people have a $5,000-$10,000 mold policy cap, and that's it.
Sure.
And it is, especially if they only have a $5,000 coverage cap, that $5,000 don't go worth a shit nowadays. It is in your best interest to either split the estimate up, or it's in your best interest to learn how to use the carrier mode and apply different coverages, and submit a file where they tell us all the time to split it up. I don't split my files up. Kiss my ass. Like, it's one file, but I'll separate out the coverages, water and mold and everything. And it's in my best interest because then I can get, to make sure that I'm applying as much as I can to the water, which is the main dwelling coverage, from the mold. Because if not, then your adjuster, you can leave it up to the adjuster to decide how much of this applies to mold. Next thing you know, they have a $5,000 coverage and the adjuster applied $7,000 of it to mold. Yeah.
Yeah, all of it goes to mold. No, Joe, we're not disagreeing here. I agree 100%. I think the right way to do it is to use the carrier profile or the actionable profile, if you got it, and add a coverage line item for mold and, and water if you really want to get particular. But then all the mold related stuff, you just change that coverage so it comes up and it's already separated. But I think, what the time to do that, if you're going to do that, if you know what you're doing, you should do it beforehand. But if you hadn't done it and now the adjuster is asking you to split it up, I think you should say, hey, I charge for my time and here's my rate, and see what they
Now I
say.
can actually,
Otherwise, they don't get it separated.
well, like I said, I can understand making that argument, but push them to shove, they're like, well, kiss my ass, I have someone else separate it. I'd rather be the one that separates it. And if I have to cost myself a little bit of money to separate it, then I'm going to do that as opposed to letting someone else.
Yeah, I agree that you have more control that way. Just like when the adjuster asks for your estimate, give it to them every time. Give it to them.
I give them the ESX files all the time. I hear
Yes.
people comment all the time. I don't want to give the ESX. What if they try to change it, keep my name on it? There's a
Then that's
digital
against the law.
footprint. Yeah, there's a digital footprint that can be tracked to show they mess with your file. If they are saying, if you turn in a $10,000 file and then the next file they pay off of says $9,000 and it still says it's from you, you can see that. But at the end of the day, guys, like
That's fraud.
I mean, here's the thing: is majority of the time, unless your only part of the mold coverage should be applied to it. It would be anything because Category 3 losses are grossly contaminated. The microbial growth is going to grossly contaminate it. If you have a basement, say, and all along the baseboard, it's all moldy. Well, there's no mold job there. You're going to do a Category 3 loss, and you're going to demo it, and then you're still going to HEPA vacuum. You're still going to clean it. You're still going to do it correctly, even if you want to get an IEP involved and have a protocol written. That's still a Category 3 water mitigation job, regardless of the mold being there or not.
Yep.
And so
that's what Adam just said. That same thing, only he put it in a private chat, so you all couldn't see it. But yeah, remove the word mold from your vocabulary. Don't use it. I've always said, I've said it for years, don't make a mold job out of a water job. If you got mold on the baseboard, but it's got to be torn out anyway, so tear it out. Don't call it Category 3, just call it Category 1. I don't care. Just get rid of it.
Do your loss for what the loss requires. Do your cleaning, do your HEPA vacuuming, do your sanitization per the standard of care. Once that's done, before you set up equipment, if there is still after that point a contamination issue because maybe the growth went up 5 foot up the wall and because this was a sump pump loss, you could only justify a 2 foot or a 3 foot flood cut. Well, that section then would be your mold remediation. That is not
maybe, but are you? Here's the line for me. Is it bad enough that I have to go get a hygienist and get a protocol written? If I can take care of the mold while I'm doing the water without getting a protocol written, it's not mold. It's just a subsequent loss to the water.
Now,
so I'm going to get rid of it. And no one's going to know.
And on a fresh loss, even if there's growth, if you clean and sanitize the basement and then the IEP comes out there and there's a contamination upstairs, well, then the upstairs it was pre-existing most likely. You can prove that and you can separate it out. I feel like a lot of people, the second they see it, they take a baseboard off, they pull a cabinet away from the wall and it's black. Oh, it's a mold job. My rule of thumb's always been 10 square feet or more of physical active growth in a common area before I worry about it anyways. It's not going to contaminate because it's not, most of the time mold is hidden and there's no airflow on it and it's physically spreading through physical growth, not through pollinization in the house.
Yeah.
So you pull that vanity off, you've already got negative containment up and negative air per your standard of care. It's not like you're contaminating. Just take care of it.
Yeah. I like this move right here. Prelien sent out day of invoice and Wardlaw doesn't have time to get involved. Interesting. Well, I would do it one or the other way. As soon as you hear Wardlaw's involved, Prelien. Either way, get it. ward law is worthless. And here's my words. If anyone at ward law hears that, send me another goddamn cease and desist letter. I don't
Can y'all
care.
hear me?
You guys are ruining the industry. Now I can. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, look. So, is there a negative to? I get that. Okay, ward law. They're going to send the company ward law in to review your stuff. Say ward law comes in and has nothing to say, and then they just pay you out directly. Obviously, we don't want to work with ward law, but if they review it and then just pay you for the bill, obviously there's no conflict of interest at that point.
But ward law doesn't pay you. Ward law just makes a payment recommendation to the carrier.
I get that, but like if they turn around and just obviously we don't want, and nobody wants to deal with any third party bullshit. But if initially the first party is going to bring them in, then ward law gets involved. I kind of let ward law feel it out, and if they turn around and say, hey, we agree with your bill 100%, then okay, there's no issue there because you agreed. But once you start pushing back, then you can go shove it. And then I seen your 1 minute video the other day. It's like, hey, you know what, just send this back to the carrier, and we don't want nothing to do with you. Is there any benefit to maybe feeling it out a little bit prior to that, or no?
Unless your name is Joe Spears, I guarantee you're never going to get ward law to say, I like your bill, I'm going to pay it, unless you were just greatly underpriced.
True.
Yeah,
that's fact.
I hate saying it like that. Like, I've had ward law call me and they're like, Joe, they literally tell me, Joe, I always look forward to seeing your name on files because I know you're going to answer my questions and have a valid justification, and we're going to be able to reach an amicable resolution real quick. And I know, and I will. I'll play the game. I don't mind playing the game a little bit, and I'll give you a little bit off here and there. But I know what numbers I need to be at. If ward law are not giving you crap, you probably weren't billing correctly to begin with. Like, that's the whole point of this.
That's a great point, Joe. If ward law is coming back and saying, hey, it looks good, you are doing something wrong.
Could potentially your bill just be on point, and
no,
or maybe I'm just underbilling at that point.
Not in my experience. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, for example, if you're using a truck mount to clean with low pressure water, the line item you should be using is CLN-STM, clean with steam with a steam machine. That captures the proper usage of a portable truck mount or a truck mount for cleaning. And a lot of people, ward law though has notoriously been trying to push pressure wash, which is for like an electric or gasoline powered one, and you don't have as much, you're not charging as much for the equipment usage. And so, I mean, they pick things apart like that. They're like, it's, for me, usually it's not so much the scope of work, it's the line item choice using. They're nitpicking on.
Well, and there's a principle of matter, right? We have a third party, not party to the claim, not party to the contract, telling us how to do our job and how to bill for it. I'm just not going to do it. Here's the problem, Adam. I have never seen ward law get involved and they liked what they saw from me, ever.
Yeah, they don't like what they see from me, but they like seeing my name on it because they know I'm pretty easy. I'm pretty laid back and have it. Like, I'm good enough when I write a file. Like, I hate saying it. Like, I remember that file. I can argue it and not, like I said, hem haul about it. Like, I have a direct answer. This is why it was chose.
But here's the deal: if they came to me and said, "Hey, we'll give you 90 cents on the dollar," that's a much different conversation than they're coming to me and say, "We're going to give you 45 cents on your dollar." Right? One has hope of actual redemption of, okay, I can maybe negotiate with this person. The second one, no chance. They're already out of reality before we even start the conversation. I don't want to have that conversation.
I will tell everybody this here, and this is my firm belief. If for a good business to run accurately, you should be tracking your numbers, and you should be tracking the difference between your initial submission and what you're actually getting approved and paid, from the carrier or the homeowner, however you're doing your billing and all, whether or not you're balanced billing or not. But if you are averaging more than 12% of a reduction between your initial submission and what you actually end up getting paid on the file, then you are probably, especially if you're using Xactimate, you're probably either not F9 noting and justifying your charges correctly, or you're not using the line items accurately enough to justify your charges.
Can I fill you in on our latest ward law claim?
Yeah, man. Let's have it.
All right. So ultimately, it was a fire loss in the state of Illinois, Homewood, Illinois. There was no there's the HOA involved, and there's the personal insurance involved. There was ultimately all the coverage is falling under the HOA. The only difference in our bill, the only discrepancy in our bill was the contents within the home. They approved it was Hanover Insurance. They approved everything other than the actual removal of the contents that was burned and charred and water damaged within the home. So they paid for all the removal, the cleaning, the sanitation, all the above. Well, not the removal, but the cleaning, the sanitation, all the above throughout the whole home. However, they didn't want to pay for the contents within the home that we had to dispose of, which was a substantial amount. This customer was a hoarder.
Was it labor? Is it labor or labor and dumpsters combined?
Pretty much. Basically, they pay for the dumpsters, but they don't want to pay for the labor.
They don't want to pay for the labor for you to fill the dumpsters full of ruined stuff.
Yes. So that's the only out of 300 line items. Line item number 4 is the only thing that they disagreed with, which is the labor to put like I said, it was a hoarder home.
Do you have the
what was their opinion?
ability? I mean, did you like F9 note it and say this is for 4 people for 8 hours a day for 5 days?
100%. And so the initial, we went back and forth with, so Hanover, so the bill was for $50K. The contents was for $10K, and that's basically just for labor hours to removing all the contents within the home. The only thing they disputed was the actual removal of the contents. They paid for absolutely everything else. And they're saying, so like I said, the home was a hoarder home. So the fire started within the basement, and the basement had contents 3/4 up to the ceiling. That's where the fire started. And they're trying to just,
well, I would argue, from what you're telling me, I would tell you this here. I would look into how much I would ask the homeowners to provide you how much the contents coverage they had, and then find how much they were paid out for their contents coverage for like
$25K.
They had $25K. What? You wanted $10K of it, which left them with $15K for cleaning, storage, all that stuff there. I'm wondering if maybe they had more than that there with the soft goods and the storage and cleaning aspect of it. And the insurance is like, we're not paying you more than that. And they just haven't worded it the way for you to.
But it's not Hanover.
So our issue was because the adjuster came back and he said, "Hey, we're not paying for this," and that was the only discrepancy in the bill. So the bill was for $50.
Which adjuster? Wardlaw or Hanover?
Hanover. So they like I said, they paid for absolutely everything, but they won't pay for the disposal or the removal of the contents that was deemed unsalvageable.
Was that the same mitigation estimate for your demo property, or did you separate it out to a separate invoice for the contents adjuster to pay out of? Because
everything is under that's what we're trying to figure out. So everything was supposedly under the HOA. We called State Farm. State Farm said they're absolutely not responsible. We had both of the parties talk to each other. State Farm said they're not responsible, which is not it's not unsurprising that each party would say they're not responsible, but it does. The removal of fire, water damage material fall under mitigation.
No, it falls under the contents coverage. You're not
It falls under the content coverage.
because
All
you're
right.
not removing structurally fire damage materials. You're removing contents fire damage materials. So the time and
But
effort.
Well,
How we-
the HOA covers for mitigation.
Well,
Right.
the HOA probably covers the structure. So the renter or whoever's in the property, their insurance would cover their contents.
I
Right.
would
So
argue
State Farm is
hard-
also saying we're not responsible. We all understand the bullshit of how this game goes. So
call it
I'm just
Call
trying
it
to look for a
debris
resolution. Yeah.
call it debris removal.
Huh?
Call it debris removal.
Debris removal. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Remove the
reword
word
it as
content.
debris removal. I mean, because most policies have a 5% allowance, separate allowance just for debris removal as it is.
Not separate allowance. It's additional insurance.
Yeah, additional insurance. But especially, I mean, that's the thing, especially when you're talking about, you keep saying HOA. Two insurance carriers, one owns the property, one owns the contents. If the insurance that owns the property will pay for contents to be manipulated within the structure walls itself, like move it from one room to the other so you can work. But the second they exit the walls of that property, the coverage no longer applies. That's why most rentals and most rental people, you can't get a pack out done unless they have contents coverage. Or
Right.
they have,
So my stance was either Hanover pays for it or State Farm pays for it. So one of those parties owes for the coverage.
but
Right?
I would have that separated out from if you're doing debris removal for contents, I would bill that separately, and I would literally send an invoice over that just said 3 dumpsters, 4 people for 8 hours a day for 5 days or whatever your number is for contents non-restorable contents disposal. That would all plus your PPE, and that would go to whoever's in charge of the contents, and then the rest of the file would go to the structure adjuster. Like I would
Right. So
separate it out.
so literally this claim is unsolved due to one line item. And then Hanover just decided to turn over to Wardlaw because I nobody can come to an agreement who owes for this line item number 4 of that. So Hanover turned it over to Wardlaw. So now I have no interest in dealing with Wardlaw, but we're dealing with one line item and somebody owes for it, whether it's homeowners or HOA. I don't give a shit,
Well, tell
but
Hanover
somebody owes for it.
if Hanover's in agreement with everything else except for that one line item, say, okay, Hanover, go ahead and process payment then on the undisputed amount here, and then that way let's get that paid out on, and then we can figure out the disputed amount, which is a single line item, by itself.
Word for word, Joe. That's literally what I said, and then it got turned over to Wardlaw. Drag it out a couple more weeks. Now we're on week number 2. It's just a shit show, and yeah. So we got 40K at least hanging in the balance. We got another 10K, trying to get figured out. But still, payment has not been issued currently.
Have they paid the 40?
Have not. But the 40s basically agree. The 40s agree to it. I just don't think that's why I'm here. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. That's why I want you guys' opinions and.
So, yeah, I would ask them, hey, can we get the undisputed amounts paid out? This thing's not getting any older or younger. I've got costs involved. Can we get the undisputed amount? And then let's have the conversation about these contents later. At least you get your 40. And then if it were me, I'd call those contents debris removal and see how that flies.
Yeah, because literally half of the job was contents debris because it was a hoarder home. Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to pay for a hoarder home.
They definitely, they understand that. They see where it is. So,
but yeah. I will tell you guys though, like you guys always want to give crap to State Farm. I'm going to tell you a story about a job here and make you laugh. So I have a fire job where I wrote the initial estimate up for structural demo and cleaning, sanitization, all that stuff, Andy. My estimate, and then while I was writing my estimate, they sent out an IA or whatever to write up their own version of the file.
Sure.
My demo structure clean estimate, which is a full gut estimate for the property, has 68 line items in it. That's a key number there. Remember, 68 line items for this
It's
full
not that
job.
many. Yeah.
And my
It really isn't.
demo structure clean estimate came out more than the IA's initial demolition, structure clean, and reconstruction file altogether.
Yeah.
And State Farm got my file. We had a little discussion here and there, and guess whose demolition file got paid in full?
Yours.
And
Of course it did. Because you live in a weird
no, this ain't even
alternate
in my
dimension,
state. This
man.
ain't in my state. This is just
All right.
and here, I'll show you real quick. Here, I'll show you how it looks. Hang on.
No, we don't have time.
Oh,
We're
okay,
we're running up against time.
like
No, I
these-
believe you.
yeah, it's crazy, but you can get things done. It's just by default, most of these people are not,
You're
it's
not
just-
capable.
it's just you got to learn to if you don't understand fully like how the separations work and how to argue it to your best benefit, it gets really hard. Like me and Andy were saying, there's a 5% disposal fee on almost every policy universally. And nobody will tell you that unless you actually know what you're talking about to ask, hey,
Yep.
do we have a 5% disposal fee?
Yep. Additional. All right. So I asked Rebel Replies to send to write the shout out here. So we're going to end the show with this. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to celebrate the resilience, determination, and unyielding spirit of a group that stands as a beacon of hope and strength to our industry. The Restoration Rebels, your unwavering commitment to upholding the highest standards, protecting the interests of both contractors and clients, and challenging the status quo is not just commendable, it's inspirational. Oh man, I'm tearing up over here. Your journey is a testament to the power of unity, integrity, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Of course it is. Through your actions, you've shown that it's not just about restoring properties, but about restoring faith, trust, and fairness in an industry fraught with challenges. The battles you face are tough, the road ahead often uncertain, but your resolve never wavers. Amen. To every member of the Restoration Rebels, your dedication to making a difference does not go unnoticed. Your efforts to educate, advocate, and innovate are laying the groundwork for a future where the rights and needs of contractors and clients are at the forefront. You are not just changing the narrative, you are rewriting the rule book. Yes, sir. As we close out today's show, let's carry forward the spirit of the Restoration Rebels. Let their courage inspire us, their wisdom guide us, and their unity remind us that together we are stronger. Here's to you, Restoration Rebels, for being the change makers, the trailblazers, and the heroes our industry needs. God damn. Thank you for your hard work, your passion, and your relentless pursuit of excellence. Keep fighting the good fight and know that your Rebel family stands with you every step of the way. Together, we are unstoppable. Hell yes.
Follow the yellow brick road.
Damn. All right. That's it. Scotty, good to see you. Adam, I'm glad you figured out what was causing the echo shit. Joe, better late than never. And
Good seeing
see you
you
guys
guys.
next week.
I'll try to wake up next time.
Hey, I look forward to seeing y'all next week. I'll jump on.
See you guys.